Hey everybody, happy Saturday. Put that up. How's everyone doing? Welcome everybody. Good afternoon, Lori. Hey Mish, I'm glad you're looking forward to this. Charlene. Okay, I'll be starting around 3, Charlene. As you know, I do a little introduction and stuff, so you've heard it before. You can always take your time coming home. You know that I usually start like 5 or 10 minutes past just do the intro, so I hope that's enough time. If not, you can always just let me know and I'm happy to catch you up. Reactions are working today. I think I figured that out, you guys. I think Facebook is in the middle of like switching over to, I don't know, I don't want to say a different platform, just a different setup, I guess. And they keep encouraging me to use the new setup, but on the new setup, the reactions don't work. So I'm going to keep saying, I'd like the old setup, please. And I think that'll keep solving the problem. So feel free to use those thumbs, those little hearts, any of those floating reactions. I believe I can see them okay. I just saw one pop up. So if you want to test any right now, that would be awesome. That'd be super helpful for me. So feel free to do that. Mish, I'm just reading your message here. Yeah, sure. My thought would be even that if you wanted to stick more to the original, you could use the light purple and then maybe stick a tiny bit of black in it. And I think it would darken it up enough to get you a couple different layers of purple. So you can see my foreground layer here, very, very dark purple. And I think if you were to add a little bit of black to your purple, I think that would help. But otherwise, you could just use a pink instead and kind of mix it up. Pink and purple would go very nice together in this painting, so you can definitely try that. As long as I think you're going from kind of light color to medium to dark when you're going from background to middle to foreground, that should all work out fine. So yeah, use whatever. Happy Saturday, Anna. Thanks for coming. And Joanne, you're welcome. Yeah, no worries. All right, so about 15 minutes before we start, if anyone has any quick questions, as usual, you can let me know. I made a quick announcement on the page, I guess, a little earlier about YouTube again. I think most people, at least in the comments that I'm seeing, know about the YouTube page, but just in case anyone doesn't, I'm moving all of my videos to YouTube. I'm still doing my live streaming here, so you can keep watching this page for the live streams, but when those are over, I keep the recorded version and I shift it over to my YouTube channel. So just letting you know that. It now is a little bit easier to find and access because I was able to change the URL. So you can just type in youtube.com/erinbunpaints. I'll just link it right there. Just a little nicer rather than a huge URL that has a bunch of letters and numbers scrambled in it. So anyway, there it is there. Just looks a little cleaner now. And I guess YouTube had some sort of a requirement. I wasn't able to do that at the start. It said you need a certain number of subscribers. So thanks for helping me out with that. I think I needed like 100 or something to get a custom URL. So thanks so much for everybody for heading over there and subscribing or just watching. Oh, 191. Wow, we're almost at 200. That's really great. And oh boy, you guys liked the Rainbow Falls one. I haven't checked in on numbers today, but that one is quickly going to overtake Galaxy Girl for the most viewed. So that's very cool. Thank you guys. That's great. I'm glad people seem to be enjoying them. Again, I think from what I heard last night, you're enjoying just the full like 3-hour videos. No need to cut them up. Maybe I'll cut up a couple more, but I don't know if I'll be keeping that consistent just because it sounds like, or it looks like that everyone just wants to watch the full one anyway. I think it was Anna made a good point last night. She said, oh, I like the full one because it literally gives you time for things to dry and kind of paces you out correctly rather than the cut up ones where you kind of have to pause here and there. I guess I was thinking more those might be used just for, you know, if you're not really painting along, kind of like Bob Ross, right? He has those 20 to 30 minute videos that people kind of watch just to chill and just kind of see what he's doing. So yeah, different things for different people. If I hear an overwhelming voice of, no, keep doing the edited ones, then maybe I'll keep going. But for now, I think I'll do a couple more, see how they are taken, and otherwise I'll just keep posting the full ones. Why not? Awesome. Thanks for subscribing, Marie. Lisa, yeah, for sure. I love rainy Saturday afternoons. There's a nice good old storm here in KW like a day or two ago. Ooh, it was good. Love rainstorms, love thunderstorms. You're very welcome, Lisa. Lori, yeah. It was actually like this yesterday. It was just in a bun, so you couldn't see. And yeah, this is just very, very semi-permanent hair dye. A few weeks ago, I was cleaning out my bathroom, and I found it. It's the Manic Panic. It comes in a little bottle, nice bright purple, and I was like, why not? I did it a few weeks ago, and then it came out, and then I said, why not again? I just have these spurts of like craziness. I guess when I'm in the shower, I have a look at the purple. I go, oh, and I put it in my hair, and then I go, oh. I'm glad you love it. I guess I keep doing it, so I guess I kind of like it. I like it more light like this. At one point, I had it in, and it was super, super bright, and I was like, too much, too much, too much. I don't mind when it's a little more subtle, where people semi-notice it, but anyway, just something a little fun to do in quarantine. I think that's a very quarantine activity right now. People dyeing hair and doing haircuts and stuff like that. Anything to just kind of get a little wacky. We're all indoors anyway, so even though I'm streaming to everybody, you can all see me. So anyway. Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. It might be a little bit muddy. Okay, maybe stick with your idea, Mish, of doing the hot pink. I think that would be nice, or just the pink that you have. Again, as long as you're using, I guess, like a lighter color, a more medium, a dark. You can even change every color if you wanted, as long as it goes from light, medium to dark. Another idea would be that you could use your light purple and lighten it a lot for the background trees. And then as you get further to the foreground, you would just use, I guess, the light purple in your bottle. But yeah, I know you have other colors too, so you could try and mix around with those and maybe see what happens. I wonder what would happen, Mish, if you started with your light purple that you have pre-mixed, and then you just put a little bit of red and blue in there. I know the red and blue by itself looks muddy, but I'm wondering if you start with the light purple that you like and then add just little bits of red and blue, I wonder if it would darken it while also not totally muddying it up. Could experiment with that. We got about 10 minutes before we start, so feel free to try that. I'm trying my best to get as many options for you as possible there. Oh, nice, Anna. I made scones recently. I've been baking a decent amount. I love baking. Oh, yum. I wish I could have a cinnamon bun. Maybe I'll make some. I'll dig through, see what I have. I have lots of flour and stuff. I really stocked up on my baking materials because I know I like baking. So I have all of the almond flour and coconut flour, and rebought all my baking powder stuff. Anyway, got all the good basics. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see, Mish. Yeah, try it out. Let me know how it goes. I just think maybe if you're starting out with a nice bright purple, maybe there's a better chance that it'll stay a little more on the brighter tone. I don't know. Again, I'm so used to my colors, it's hard to give opinions when it comes to other colors and other brands and things like that. Yeah, it's pretty much my life, Anna. You're totally right. Bake and craft. I bake and then I eat while I paint, or eat while I craft. Yep. That's pretty much me too. Yep. Okay, just about 10 minutes left. I've been trying to decide what I want to paint next, guys. I keep looking at the big list. I think I want to like organize it into categories because it's still the messy list that I used, when I was initially writing everything down. I keep going back to the lollipop candy idea. I think that's a really cool one, just because everyone was so pumped about kind of the rainbow theme last night, all the beautiful colors, and I was like, what else is kind of rainbowy other than nature? Obviously, I want to be able to do another kind of nature scene type thing with lots of beautiful colors, but I thought the lollipop was a great idea for just, yeah, kind of rainbow, very colorful theme. So let me know what you think of that. Just a nice big old lollipop. I was thinking like some cotton candy type colors in the background. Feelings, thoughts, or if there's any other topics that you're really hoping to see very soon. I keep hearing that Father's Day one. Don't worry, I'm working on that one. It's almost done. And yeah, otherwise I've been feeling kind of the lake theme. A lot of people were asking for kind of cottage, lake, dock, anything of the sort. And yeah, I've been collecting inspiration for that. Some nice kind of sunset looking things on the water, experimenting with how to make water. There's lots of different techniques for water. You can just kind of brush back and forth and blend a few colors. I've been experimenting more with using small strokes and doing lots of little waves all together. Anyway, if anyone has thoughts or feelings on any of that, you can let me know. Yeah, no worries, Charlene. You can take your time getting home. You can pop in if you want. Otherwise, yeah, you can just take your time later if you want as well. Oh, it overtook the purple Amish. Ooh. And you said the red was the issue, so you probably don't want to add too much of that. You could try adding a little bit of red just to see how it looks, but otherwise I would then go back to your original original thought there. Sorry, none of that's working. Yeah, just wanted to see experimenting and see if that would solve anything. I received my order. Phthalo blue, they had 2 shades of green. I haven't used either. You mean phthalo green or phthalo blue, Lisa? So you said you got your phthalo blue, and then they had 2 shades, red and green. So I'll show you. I don't use green. If you're asking about the tone or shade of red I use, that's the bright red from Start Academic Acrylic. And then you're asking about green. So I don't have a premix green. I just use phthalo blue and a bright yellow to make all of my greens. So anything you see in here, this green here was those 2 colors, maybe a little bit of white. This here was those 2 colors, just different amounts of them. So both of those are the phthalo blue yellow. And then this had a lot more white in it as well, because you can see it's very, very faded. But this is more of like the bluish green tone. It's almost bordering on turquoise. I really liked this color. I knew I wanted to make a painting with that color very soon, so I figured I would just start with it and see where it went. Once again, this painting changed a lot as I was making it. Maybe I'll talk a bit more about that while we're painting. But yeah, Lisa, if you need any more clarification, just let me know. Dolphins, water, rain. Yeah, Charlene, I was, again, with experimenting with water, I really wanted to do some sort of a kind of rainbow water look. Haven't really actually done that yet. I've just kind of like thought about it and maybe messed around on that Procreate app just to see how it looks, but I never really know until I paint it, so I'm going to make sure dolphins are on. Oh yeah, it is here. There it is. Cool. Yeah, and I've just been hearing a lot of animals too, and animals honestly kind of scare me. Animals are difficult because there's so many different shapes and like certain things to really get them right. So honestly, I kind of avoid them, but I'll try my best to pick 1 or 2 and see if I can tackle them very soon. Because you had a lot of great ideas. Yeah, the dolphin. I'm seeing flamingos, leopard, elephant. Yeah, lots of different things. Sloth panda. I was kind of working on a panda one. Anyway, just tons and tons and tons. And then I was looking at the topic of pineapple, and I was wondering if we'd be interested in maybe doing something a little more like watered down looking, kind of like splish splashy looking, you know, rather than like lots of thick acrylic paint, clean lines and everything, maybe like using a little bit of water in your paint, making it look a little splashier, a little more, like I don't want to say abstract, but you know, just a little more loose. If anyone has any thoughts on that, you can let me know. Both containers are labeled phthalo blue, but after the blue in the brackets. Oh, that's very interesting, Lisa. Huh. Green shade, red shade. Wow. Can I do a quick Google for that one? What brand is that? Red shade. I'm more interested in the red shade because I've seen phthalo green before, but not green and red, or red shade. Yeah. Oh, there's a little Google link here. It says phthalo green, or phthalo blue green versus red shade. I'm learning as we speak. Okay, for green shade, for cool, clean, staining shadows, lights on windows. Powerful blue with a slightly red undertone. Oh, okay. Oh, interesting. I think green is what you want. I just had a quick look at a little color chart here with both of those colors being used, and the green one has more of the turquoisey tone, and that's definitely what mine has. Very interesting. Can I link you what I'm looking at? Maybe that'll help you just visualize a bit. There, I just linked it there, Lisa. I think it's the green shade you want. Interesting. I'm learning so much. That's a nice idea, Lori. Thank you. You mentioned clouds. I actually had that idea already. I wanted to do some sort of a, yeah, more of like even a live stream first, and then I could obviously cut it down into a video, but something like, yeah, just different types of clouds, different types of trees. Trees is a great idea, obviously. Happy little trees for Bob. Because I know I want to learn some more trees too. I really stick to my Bob Ross trees a lot. But yeah, that's a fantastic idea. Blending, yeah, for sure. Those are all great. And again, I think it would be fun even to do that live if everyone wanted to tune in. And if not, you can always watch for that later and just kind of watch it on your own. Yeah, that'll involve some learning on my part too, because I try and be very clear. I'm always learning. I wouldn't be able to make that video tomorrow in terms of like 5 different clouds or 10 different clouds, 10 different trees. You know, I could give lots of tips on trees and clouds like the ones I know, but apart from that, I would love to kind of learn myself too, how to make kind of different looks, you know? Anyway, that's a great idea. Nice. Okay, good, Mish. I'm glad you're still experimenting. You'll get there. You'll get there. Oh, you're right. You're right, Anna. I need to circle cardinals like 3 times. It's right here. I see it. There you go. You're so right. And with summertime too, that would be really nice, doing some sort of like a summertime cardinal look. Maybe on a nice like summer fence or a summer tree or something, for sure. Okay, cool. Thanks, Anna. I love my pineapples. So Liquitex brand. Oh yeah. Okay, they're a nice brand. I bet they just have lots of different shades that I'm unaware of. They're a nice brand. Yeah, Lisa, I think, yeah, awesome. Check out that link. That was very informative. And again, I really like the photo they included. And if you're looking at the link, Lisa, so you can see the green phthalo blue with the green shade on the very right. It looks a little more turquoisey. And if you've joined me before, I'm trying to find on my volcano plate if I have an example. Like, I've made turquoise before, but even when you mix the blue with just some white, it turns more like that. See how it's nice, bright, almost turquoisey? It still isn't green, but you can see it's closer to that green shade rather than red. I think the red was more of the kind of toned down blue. What I would imagine is more of an ultramarine blue, what I know as more of an ultramarine blue is the red shade. And it actually compares it to ultramarine, so there you go. Yeah, I'm just re-looking at it. Huh. Cool, I love learning. All right, cool. And blue jays, yeah. Like, there you go. We could do like birds. That would be fun, right? I think, maybe. Birds would probably all be very similar, just kind of different colors, different patterns, but just another idea for you. Okay, guys, yeah, we're at 3:01. And always fun to chat. Thanks so much for coming, guys. Okay, so yeah, without further ado, welcome to my painting stream. I'm Erin from erinbunpaints, as you see from the page name. Welcome, everybody. What we're doing today, as usual, is I have painted a lovely painting here. Still nameless, as usual. Throw some names in the comments, and I'll figure out what to name it when I upload it to YouTube. Just something foresty. I was thinking like a mystical forest, whimsical forest, something like that, but throw in your own ideas. And the idea is I'm going to recreate it with you step by step. If you'd like to follow along, you're welcome to kind of recreate it with me and ask me some questions as you go. Or you can just sit down and watch if you're, baking some cinnamon buns or something. You can have a little watch or, yeah, whatever you like. And then if anyone's here wondering if this will be posted later, it will. I always save the video and then repost it to YouTube within like an hour or two. I think it took about an hour and a half last night to an hour. It was pretty quick. So you'll be able to see it up there after this is completed in about 2 hours time. So just know that. In terms of materials today, I'll go through those as usual. I use 5 paint colors today. I have white, black, red, yellow, and phthalo blue. And I have my 3 brushes. Oops, they're a little wet because they were sitting in water. I've got a large flat brush, medium round brush, and a small round brush. If you have any combination of those or any different ones, that's totally fine. I always just recommend a few different sizes. Otherwise, I have a cup of paint water, excuse me, a towel, I'm protecting myself with an apron, even though I'm risking my sleeves today, it looks like. But yeah, just be careful with acrylic paint. It doesn't really stain, but it can be a little bit messy, so just be a little extra careful. And otherwise, those are the materials I am using. So just gonna go to my notepad. For those who came yesterday, you know I made a quick little toast rhyme, and it seemed like people thought it was decent, so I'm going to keep using it until maybe we continue to change it up altogether and see if we can come up with any more fun lines to add. So if you have a little drink or a little snack, you can grab that. It's like a little toast, so you can raise whatever you want. Raise your brush if you want, whatever you like, and you can repeat after me, or you can just kind of listen along and toast with me. Here we go. A toast from coast to coast, to painting and not complaining, to Bob, the total heartthrob, to you, and phthalo blue, it's brand new, so it's really heavy, and to me, for willing to see the fun of painting after a cheers or two or three. All right, so cheers or two or three, and then, yeah, we can get started. All right, you like Whimsical Forest, Lori? If you want to put a spin on that, please let me know. Maybe like a purple or a phthalo theme, I don't know. Pick out some more fun words and add it to the title, and we can see what we can come up with. All right, so as usual, I'm putting this back here. You can have a look at it, but I'm going to paint along with you very nice and close up here. So I'm going to start with my large flat brush, and I'm going to be mixing, excuse me, I'm going to be using just plain white to start. Plain white. I was getting excited about mixing my beautiful green blue in the background, but first we're just using white. We're just going to lay down that nice bright middle. So again, large flat brush, white paint. And it looks like my horizon line is about 1/3 of the way up. So I'm starting about 1/3 of the way up, and I'm moving a little bit over to the right. And I'm making kind of an archway like this. A very thin one. You can see the white. It's pretty small. It very quickly moves into some of that greenish blue shade. It's almost like I'm creating a small little doorway. And by small, I mean very tall but thin doorway. Again, it's a little off to the right. It's not centered. I'd like to just off-center it a little bit. So keeping it a little bit over to the left from the center. Okay, and again, for those who are new, or just as a reminder, you can use the little thumbs up reaction to let me know whenever you're ready to move on, because they are working today, so that's always a bonus. So feel free to do that if you would like. It's just a nice small little step we're starting with. I'll try and get the light on that. You can really see where I went there. Yeah, there it is. Again, it's like a nice long, tall doorway. So this is going to be where our path is leading to, just to nowhere. It's just leading to a nice bright opening. So again, you can use those little reactions whenever you're ready. I want to make sure they're working okay. I know they were working earlier. Sometimes they get a little funny though. Oh, I saw one there. Okay. Just gonna pull it up over here too. A better look. Okay, I see them coming out of my from my peripherals there. Thank you guys. Let's go right ahead. We'll go right ahead. We're going to start to make our nice kind of greenish blue color. That's what I'm calling it, because I don't quite think it's a turquoise. Again, I had that color in my brain. It was like not quite turquoise. It's more of a green blue color. So that's what we're going to do. There we go. So on your plate, you can start to mix some blue and yellow. So we're kind of making a green, but again, it's more of a blue green. So either half blue yellow or just a little bit extra of the blue. And I know some of you might be saying, half, what do you mean? Wouldn't that make green? But I find when you use half of the very dark phthalo blue and the light bright yellow, it actually does turn into more of a blue-green naturally, just because the blue is a darker shade. It's a little more powerfully pigmented, I would think, as well, based on my experience anyway. So if you start with half, just to see how that looks, you can do that. And then we're going to really lighten it up, and we can kind of alter it as we go. Okay, blue, some yellow. Mixing those together. So you can see already that was about half-half, and I would say that's more of a blue-green right there rather than a straight green. I find when I'm trying to make a very pure green or like a grass green, anything like that, I end up using more yellow. It's not actually half-half that I use. So again, more of a blue-toned green, see that? And then of course we want to lighten it up. We're going from light to dark today, so we're putting lots of white in it. See that? It really starts to come through there. That's great. Exactly what I wanted. All right, I'm just going to continue adding white. I want to make it nice and light to begin with. You can see I'm traveling down my plate, getting lighter and lighter. And I kind of move around, by the way, because I find if I keep going in the same spot, it takes a long time to lighten up a color. If I keep moving it around, kind of bringing just a little bit of the color over, and then grabbing a large scoop of white to add in, you can see how quickly it lightens up. If I were to keep mixing in that big pile of blue-green, it would take a long time to lighten up. So that's why you see me moving around, trying to just get small amounts of the color and then lots of white to continue to lighten it. So again, a nice soft shade of that original color. And I'm going to put that around my white archway. I would say in a pretty thick band. Thick strokes here, going like this all the way around. I will be blending it in. As usual, I like to put the paint on first and then I will blend it. Something like that. Doesn't need to be perfect, of course, because we're just going to blend it in a minute or two here. So keep that there. Again, you can give a little thumbs up whenever you're ready. Oh, Lori, did you make it home? I saw your little thumbs there. I'm glad you're joining if you are. Excuse me. Just pouring a little more white. Okay, so I'll go ahead and blend now, everybody. It seems like I got a couple thumbs there. So I'm just going to be using my brush, brushing back and forth in between those two colors. There's maybe a little bit of paint left on there, but not a whole lot. And again, I'm just going to brush in between that white and that very nice light greenish blue and trying to kind of fade them together. So I'm trying my best to keep my very middle white, but if this blends in a little bit extra, like maybe the outside of your white turns to more of a very, very soft teal, totally fine. As long as I have a little bit of the white spot just right in the very middle. And if yours happens to close up all the way, you could always re-add white a little later. If you really like having a nice, very clean white in the middle, you could always do that later once things dry. Otherwise, you could always be washing off your brush and grabbing a little more white paint and using that either in the middle or just on the outsides as you blend. That also helps kind of keep the white a little bit cleaner and just keeping kind of the teal or the greenish blue a little more to the outsides. Look at me go, I'm already calling it teal, and I was like, this is not a teal. I'm sure it's technically kind of a teal, but I just think of it more as a bluish green. When I think of teal and turquoise, like I think of those beautiful ocean colors. I would say it's much more blue than this, but I've said it before, colors are like different for everybody. I think everybody has different versions of colors in their head, so call this whatever you want. So we'll just give a minute or two till I see a few little thumbs pop up. And then we're just going to be making a nice darker version of that color and moving around. Blending around. Yeah, I haven't really used this color a whole lot, but I really like it. I want to think of more ways to incorporate it. I need to relook at my themes and see if I can get this in there somehow into any of them. So one quick thumb there. I know we have a smaller group today too, so I'm only going to wait for a couple thumbs at a time. Maybe in a panda, it could be like a nice bamboo color. Bamboo's more bright green. Lighthouse. Anything with water, I'm sure I could incorporate it. Cool. There's a few thumbs. Let's go right ahead here. So now, everybody, I'm just darkening up my bluish green a little bit more. So you can do this either by adding a little more blue, a little more yellow into your bluish green that you already had, and that'll just darken it up a little bit. Or if you're like me, and maybe as you mixed, you kind of went around your whole plate here and made a nice light version, medium dark, then I guess you kind of planned ahead by accident there, and you now have a nice medium bluish green. But again, if you need to, you could always grab a little blue, tiny bit of yellow, just mix it on top of what you had, like mix it over here if you need to. You can see it's just going to re-darken it into the closer to the original color, not quite the original color. So any shade, again, a little bit darker, we're going around our previous greenish blue. So I'm hitting the edge on the left-hand side now, just so you know for reference. And as you might know, when you hit the edge, you can wrap around on the sides here. So feel free, if you have hit the edge, to kind of go around the very side of your canvas and kind of fill that up as well. All the canvas sides need a little bit of love, so don't forget about them. I'm going over here. I'm going along the top, it looks like. I've hit the top at that point. I'm trying to really bring it over. I'm probably only going to make one more shade of this bluish green. So I definitely wouldn't be afraid to really bring this kind of around out to the side here. I'm really running out of paint here. I need to make a lot more of this blue green. Nice big archway. So you can see I'm like creeping around to the right-hand side here. I'm not quite reaching it, but I've reached the top, I've reached the left. Yes, I have a small little corner. I'm just trying to keep it even all the way around, the same width all the way around. So you might have more of the corner covered, but in that case, you might have more of this side covered. As long as you're keeping it consistent all the way around, that's kind of the goal. And then I'm just going to whip right into blending that in. I'm sure we just saw that, so you can do that whenever you're ready, but just taking your brush with no extra paint. So I just wiped it off on my towel a little bit, and I'm now brushing in between those two teal shades. So trying my best to kind of mix them together a little bit, just so there's no harsh lines in between the two. It looks more like a nice smooth transition. So you see how that's more smooth, that's more of a harsh line. I just need to brush in between the two, get them to blend together. And if something isn't blending correctly, it's usually because one of the colors is a little bit dry. Of course, more often than not, it's the color you applied first. So in this case, it's going to be your very light bluish teal, bluish green. How many different names am I going to call this color? I don't know. But yeah, it's probably the light bluish green that might be a little dry, so you can always grab a little extra on your brush to help kind of freshen it up and blend those two areas together a little bit more. I might do that just a tad on mine. You only need a little bit, because you're just working in the one small area just in between the two colors. And again, that just kind of freshens up the color, allows it to blend a little bit easier into the one around it. Cool, you can see they're nicely blended. So again, I'll just give it a quick minute or two, or until I see just a few thumbs, And we're just doing one more shade of this color. We're just going to make it a little darker just for the very, very outside edges. Yeah, Angela, I was playing around with like what I want the panda to do. I wanted it to be kind of like a little panda, a really, really cute one, like with big, big eyes. I was trying to experiment with that a little bit. I haven't painted it yet, but I was just kind of doodling one. So again, animals are difficult for me. I like looking at references. So I think the more I doodle, the more I'll, you know, have a little more confidence in creating the type of, you know, panda shape I want and just the activity it's doing. Is it sitting? Is it rolling around? I don't know. Pandas are so roly-poly. That would kind of be fun to make one. Yeah, no worries, Marie. You can have a look at the page. I'll be sure to post when it's up. Sharon, yeah, it'll be left on YouTube. So what I've been doing is leaving it on Facebook for like an hour or two just as it's uploading to YouTube, and then it lives on YouTube indefinitely. So it'll be available for sure. Okay, I saw a couple thumbs there, so I'm going to go right ahead. I'm going to darken up my greenish blue, bluish green. I'm going to come up with every combo of all of those words for this color. My gosh, my gosh. So you can see it's just a little bit darker now. I think maybe just a little more blue in there. It's my preference. Okay, and again, this is really sticking right along the edges here, so it's not going to be too harsh. You can always extend your medium bluish teal, bluish green over if you'd like to lighten it up a little bit, but I tried my best just to stick this all along the sides here. So once again, I'm doing one more kind of archway or semi-archway because of course your top is maybe covered at this point. So it's more so you're just filling in the gaps on the right-hand side and maybe that top corner if you have it open. You're welcome, Sharon. Yep, no worries. And Sharon, I actually just made a quick post on this Facebook page this morning with a nice little link to the YouTube channel. So if you have some sort of a Google account or a YouTube account, you can subscribe to the channel, and then that way you're actually notified whenever I post. Because I might not notify every single time a video is like ready on YouTube. I might just be, you know, transferring them there, kind of leaving it alone. I might link my whole channel a few times just so people know where to find all the videos. But that might be helpful just so you're aware when things are posted. You can know instantly, and then you can save it for later, or, you know, keep the link ready for whenever you're ready. Yeah. Or just keep checking back whenever you're ready. I'm sure if your plan is to paint this like later tonight, the link will be up for sure by then, or the video will be up for sure. Okay, so again, I'm just going to go straight into blending here. We've done that step before. So again, if your previous color is a little bit sticky or dry, mine is like in between, kind of sticky dry, I'm just grabbing a little extra of that color on my brush so that when I brush in between, it's applying a fresh coat and really allowing it to blend together. So again, I'm dipping more into the medium shade, brushing in between. I hope that microphone is picking up that sound. I love all the painting noises. So again, just brushing in between the two colors until they blend out. Oh, it's a little streaky there. Just gonna blend that out a bit. There we go. All right, so that's my nice background all done. I'll just bring this forward. We can have a little look, a little comparison, a little check-in. Oh yeah, very close. This one's maybe a tad more blue, just a tad, but definitely that blue-green look. Love that color, very cool. All right, so I'm just giving you a little bit of time. Just as a heads up, next we're gonna go down here. We're gonna create our nice green grass area. So more green, lots of green in this painting. Just different shades. Really shows off how many different shades of one color you can make. I say that all the time, especially with purples. You can make some red purples, some blue purples, but these greens as well. Blue greens, yellow greens, light greens, forest greens. How many greens are there? I saw a few thumbs. I'll just give another quick minute. just especially because we're like moving on to a new section next. Just want to be sure. Anyway, I'm glad you like the panda, Angela. I love pandas. That's why out of all the animals, I was like, I think I'll try panda first because they're like my favorite. My favorite. If you couldn't tell. There he is. I'd have more than that too, but all right, thanks for the thumbs, guys. Let's go right ahead. So I'm going to make more, like I said, more of a grass green now, just to really make a nice difference between our bluish green and then the ground color here. So more of a nice traditional, you know, grass green. That's what I'll call it, nice grass green. So I'm just going to wash off my brush at this point, even though we're using all the same colors and shades pretty much. I just want to give it a little wash here and there, just to kind of reshape it and not have it too pent up with paint. And I'm going to go back to my plate here, and I'm going to mix blue and yellow. This time I'm mixing a little extra yellow. So remember I was talking earlier about how I find that when I want more of a traditional green like this, more of like a pure green, I would say, I actually use a little extra yellow to obtain that, because the blue is so dark and I think very pigmented, at least in my brand that I'm using. I need a little extra yellow to be able to kind of bring it back to more of the medium green tone and spectrum. No worries, Kimberly. Yay! Safe drive and enjoy later, Kimberly. Okay. And I did lighten it up a little bit. Where's my white? It's all gone. I have a little white. I lightened it up just a tad. I didn't lighten it up too much. You can see it just brightens it up a little bit more. So that's really, again, personal preference. If you like the green you originally created, just use that one. But I'm lightening this up just a little bit. I do need more paint than that, I can already tell, but I'll start with it and I can always make more. So again, I would say my horizon line is about a third of the way up. So I'm just going to make sure that I'm overlapping my bluish green, just so I'm not leaving any gaps here and there, right? So I like to kind of choose that first. I made a nice wavy horizon line just so nobody's stressed about making a nice perfect straight line. I purposely made it a little bit wavy. And then all I did is I applied that on the bottom here, big strokes back and forth. Whoops. There we go. Yeah, I just need to mix a lot more. So again, you're applying that all over that bottom third, so you can just go for it if you have more green than I did. And again, overlapping is fine because you can see it just covers up that previous color. And that way you know that there's no gaps in between. If you're really covering up on top of that background, there's going to be no gaps left behind. And I just stroke back and forth. You can see nice big streaks just to kind of smooth out all the paint. Otherwise, there's no real reason I'm doing that. I'm sure you could stroke up and down if you wanted, or diagonally. It's more so doing the long strokes. It helps smooth out everything. Getting there, getting there. I'm really trying to use all that paint. That's why I'm pressing so hard. I'm really trying to utilize what I have mixed there rather than mixing a whole new pile. So I'm really scraping it on, trying to get it all used. Phew, there we go. No more mixing needed. There we go. Bing, there it is. Okay, once again, I'll give it a quick minute or two, or until I see some thumbs pop up. We have a quick little step next. I just like to decide where my pathway is going next. We won't actually do the whole pathway quite yet. It's just going to be kind of marking out where it is. big area to fill, so I'm sure you might need another minute or two. Yeah, it's still gray. It's not quite raining here. It's just gray. Decide, do you want to be sunny or rainy? One or the other. So yeah, next step will be marking out the pathway. And you can get creative with the pathway too. I chose this nice stone kind of pathway. There's a couple thumbs. I'll talk a bit more about it in a minute, but yeah. Saw my thumb, so let's go right ahead here. So again, what I like to do now is I just like to sketch out where the pathway is going. It helps me kind of put my trees down properly. I'll show you a few little tips about where I'm placing my trees in a minute or two, but for now, I'm just switching to this more medium-sized brush, just so I'm not using a huge brush, because again, we just want maybe a little tip on a brush to be able to really mark out where our pathway is. I'm just going to grab a little bit of white, or even if it's a super light green or something like that, just anything that'll show up on this grass here, because we will cover it up with dark grays later. So any white, any light color really will do. And I'm starting my pathway right where my white center is, because of course I think that's kind of like, you know, the open area of the forest. You're kind of walking into that kind of light area. And I just start with 2 little lines there, I guess, just to mark out the width of the pathway. And if I could make one suggestion, I would start thinner than you think. You can always make it wider, so start a little thinner than you think. And then my pathway really wiggles. It kind of swings right, comes a little further straight down, swings right again, and kind of ends on the right-hand side. And as it gets further down, it's going to get wider and wider and wider because it's coming closer to us, right? So that's another reason I started very thin, because by the end, it's going to really, really widen out as it comes further down, and in my case, further to the right. So again, you don't have to make it wiggle if you don't want to. If you want to kind of make it go straight down, you certainly can. But I'm just starting with a nice little casual wiggle there. Just a casual wiggle. It's not a serious wiggle, it's just kind of casual. And then what I like to do is I like to mimic it on the other side, but I'm just going wider as I do it. So I'm following the same wiggle that I made. So I'm kind of moving a little right, but I'm kind of consciously trying to move further away at the same time. So as I wiggle, I'm moving a little further away as I wiggle as well. So I'll swing further to the right, come down, swing even further to the right. And it looks like I ended mine kind of in that bottom right-hand corner. So I really made it nice and wide at the end. You can see it makes it look like it's coming towards us. It's getting bigger and bigger. And just double checking there. That's pretty dang close. I think maybe this one is a little wider. Let's do that. But yeah, that shows you the perspective of the pathway. It's getting closer to you. It's going to get wider and wider and wider as it's closer to you. So again, it does not have to be perfect. It's really just to mark out where the pathway is going to go. I found that very helpful when I was doing my trees, just for placement reasons. So spend another quick minute on that. We don't need to fill it in or anything. It's just marking out where it's going to be. You can always alter it a little later if you need to as well. So if it's not totally perfect, again, that's okay. And yeah, if you don't want it to wiggle, you could always just start thin and kind of bring it straight down. You could do one edge maybe going straight, another edge going angled, so it's getting further away. You can make it straight and angled. Lots of different options there. I see one little thumb coming up. I'll wait for 1 or 2 more and then we can get right into our beautiful trees here. We got lots of trees to do. I'll have lots of tips for you. Trees I find take lots of practice just to get kind of comfortable and used to them and really confident with them, but this will be a good one for practice then, because we have lots of trees to do and we're going to start in the background. So if you make 1 or 2 you don't really like, you can always cover them up. Awesome. Thanks, guys. I see a few more thumbs, so let's do it. So for the trees, I'm actually going to switch back to my large flat brush. And the reason is, even though it's a big brush, all the bristles line up very nice and tight together. And so I find that makes some very nice thin lines for me anyway. And I do actually like the longer bristles because I find as they kind of sweep on the canvas, they really drag like this. You can see how they're dragging, and that kind of promotes the bristles to really thin out into a nice thin line, so you can create some nice thin lines for your trees. So I used purples for my trees, and what I did is I started very light, I got a little darker, and then I got very dark at the front. So I'm going to start in the background. You can see these very nice, what I would call kind of lilac or lavender looking trees. So we're starting with a nice light purple. Anything right on the horizon line here. You see how they all end on the horizon line? They're all very far back. Okay, so to mix that, we're going to need 3 colors. We'll need some red and blue, and we will also need some white. Let's find those 3 all around me here. Got some red. Got some blue, some phthalo blue. That's what I'm using. And some white. So usually what I do is I start by mixing just the red and blue. I'll get a nice dark purple. And then I just throw white in there to lighten it up, see how it's looking, and alter as I go. So by alter, I mean you can add more red or add more blue and just kind of play with the tone of the color. So here I go down my volcano. I'm grabbing red, grabbing some blue, mixing it in. I would say for the purple that I like, I use a little extra red. I think it makes it look a little brighter, a little warmer, rather than the kind of cool tone, very dark, deep purple. So you can kind of see it coming through there. More of a reddish purple in my opinion. That's just what I like, but again, you should be making whatever light purple you like. So you'll really start to see it come through here. I'm adding some white. There it is. Woohoo! I love it. If you want a comparison, I'll just show you if I added more blue to it. So yeah, it's still a purple, but it's more of a kind of bluish purple, just a cooler purple. So you choose whatever one you like. Lots of different tones you can make. You can just keep experimenting by doing just as I did. You can add a little more blue, a little more red, and of course, if you need to lighten it up, you're just adding white to whatever you like. So I'm going for a super light purple to start, nice lavender type color. Yeah, I think that's about right. Very light purple. Getting messy already. Okay. So if you're using a nice big flat brush like me, first step is to really flatten it out. Doing all that mixing really mixes the bristles up a bit, makes them all out of line. So I'm just making sure I'm wiping on the edge of my plate to make sure all the bristles are nicely lined up and prepped. Then what I'm doing is I'm going to my horizon line here. This is where I put my first set of trees. I'm avoiding the middle, so I'm avoiding kind of that pathway area here, even just like to the sides here. I'm going to move a little further, and I choose my first spot. I'll just choose maybe the very left-hand side, using the thin edge of the brush up and down. And again, I'm starting on the horizon line. I'm going to pull upwards. As I'm moving upwards, I'm trying to release pressure a little bit from my brush. And you can see it's getting thinner and thinner because of it. The line is getting thinner and thinner. Trying to go slow for you there, just so you can really see. See how it started a little bit thicker, got thinner and thinner and thinner. That's because I was releasing pressure. I was kind of moving the bristles further away from the canvas, releasing pressure, and that way less of the bristles are touching. Just the very tips touch. You get a nice thin line there. Okay. You can even go back if you want and thicken it up a little bit more. I like to start outrageously thin, and then I go back and I thicken up a little bit. So I'm just going from the trunk again at the very bottom, bringing it upwards. And if you want to keep it nice and thin on the top, you can kind of just end off about 2/3 of the way up if you want. And then that way you have a thicker trunk and it looks a little more dramatic going all the way up. You have more of a thick trunk and then a nice thin tip. So that's what I start with, just a nice straight up and down trunk. And you can see I ended it before reaching the top, but you'll see I change that up as I go. And just before I move on to other trunks, I just want to show you a couple branches on this guy. So it's going to be very similar technique, kind of using the thin edge of the brush, dragging it. The only difference is you're now dragging it from the trunk itself. So you can start by just kind of sweeping up the trunk. And then whenever you're ready, you can move either a little right or a little left. So I'm going to move a little to the right. Seeing that okay? I'm going to move that here. Get a different angle. Yeah, move a little to the right. And just kind of wavering as you go up, you can kind of straighten out or make it wiggle a little bit. But you can see what I did is I just kind of ended it off a little early again, so my branch is a little shorter than the top. Branches can go higher as well if you want. I'll show you that. Maybe a little bit, for example. But for the most part, they're going to end a little bit shorter, of course. So I didn't add any branches on top of those branches. You can see there's no twigs, coming off of the branches I made. I just added a few of these smaller branches coming off of the original trunk and then left it alone. Because there are so many trees in this forest here, you just don't really need to, in my opinion, add lots and lots of branches, or twigs, I guess I should say. You don't need to fill up your branches. I just add a couple, main branches off of the big trunk, and then I found that that really filled it up enough for me to make it look like it was a nice full forest. Okay, so I'm just going to do another one here. You can keep watching if you want. If you think you've got it, you can just kind of go at your own pace now. So again, starting with more pressure, that thin edge of the brush dragging upwards. I was running out of paint there, so that's another good tip. You want to maybe reload your brush each time just so you can really get a nice smooth stroke all the way up. When you start to try and do a few trees at a time, it might become a little frustrating. You might find that the paint keeps running out. Things look a little more dry rather than a nice clean edge every time. So just give it a little wipe into a small amount of your light purple, and that'll help freshen it up. Once again, I'm just thickening up the trunk. A little higher there. Created a little bump there by accident, so I'll just turn that into a branch. See that? I flicked off a little bit by accident. That's a branch now. No mistakes, just happy accidents. That little bump is going to be a branch too. Got a lot of little bumps there. And maybe I'll do a branch way further down just so it really sticks out. Of course, you will have some trees very close together, so if some of them intersect a little bit, that's totally fine. Trees always, intersect a little bit, cross over each other in the real forests of the world. So if those need to do that as well, go for it. Okay, I'm just going to keep working my way across. I would say as I get more to the middle too, this nice, not the middle, but the white center area, I probably do some smaller, oh, there's a little blue in there. I do some thinner and maybe shorter trees just to make it look like they're really far in the distance and almost maybe drowned out by the light in a way. You're not going to see them quite as much. They're not going to appear quite as thick. Just going to clean that guy up a bit. There we go. Go for one tiny one right there. All right, so I'm going to go over to the other side now. Again, I'm keeping these guys just a little bit shorter just to make them appear very thin, a little smaller because they're maybe further in the distance, of course, because they're right on that horizon line, way out into that bright spot. And then I'll start to make them a little bit thicker again. They're all pretty thin, but again, there will be some that are thinner, some that are thicker. Oh, is that Andrea? Hello. Hello, Andrea. I'm glad you're enjoying. You're welcome. Are you going to paint it later, you think? I assume you just maybe popped in now. You could catch up, but feel free to take your time too and just wait for later as well. Let me know. Yeah, it's just a nice little Saturday afternoon thing, This little weekend painting on a nice gray day, on a not so nice gray day. Just continuing the same techniques, everybody, just using my thin edge of the brush. I'm again trying to reload with a little extra paint each time just to keep it nice and fresh. Just bring more branches higher up. I'm really sticking low. And again, if you want to bring a few trees all the way up, if they're really, really tall guys, you can just bring them right up to the top. You don't need to worry about making a nice thin tip up there. Just raise it all the way up. So see what happened there? See how it became a little dry there? It looks like a little transparent. That's just because I was running out of paint. It keeps going dry. So again, just grabbing a little extra paint will help fix that. Need to thin that out again. But grabbing a little more paint again creates a nice clean edge. So you really see the nice clean edge all the way up rather than having it fade and just kind of disappear and become more and more transparent. So again, keep reloading that paint just little bits at a time. Okay. Let's go right there. You don't need to evenly space these, of course. You can scatter them a little bit. I'll try my best to showcase that as I move over. We can do one right next to another one or leave a nice big gap. Just mixing it up all the time. And of course, remember too, we have 2 more layers of trees. So if you're feeling like it still looks a little bit empty, you do not need to worry because we had 2 more layers of different shades of purple. So I'm sure that'll cover up lots and lots of space. Much more than you think, I'm sure. If I didn't point out before, all of my branches, they all kind of travel up in this painting. I didn't really add any that go more side to side. They kind of just curve out as I described before, and then they kind of travel upwards as they go, travel upwards. They're all reaching for the sky, very tall. And I'm not sure if I mentioned before too, but branches do follow the same rule as the trunk. As I was saying before, you always want that trunk to be a little bit wider and then it gets thinner on the way up. Branches are the same thing. So if you ever have a branch that gets a little wider in the middle, for example, you'll want to bring that width down into the base of the branch just to make sure it's always getting a little thinner as it goes. For sure, Andrea. That sounds good. I'm glad you were gardening. I can't wait to do that. I think I'm going to be grabbing some stuff in a few days. Hopefully they're not all sold out of everything. I feel like I'm really on the edge of that time that everything might be getting to be sold out a little bit. I don't even have a garden. I just have a small little patio that I just want to fill up a little bit. So even if they have a little bit left, I'll be good with it. Few veggie type items. I want to be able to grow some stuff. Hopefully I have good updates too, and I'm not like, oh, 2 weeks later, everything's dead. Because that has happened before. Do my best, but sometimes it just doesn't work out for me. All right, so for example, yeah, I tried to really showcase the distance here, left a big gap here, brought that one a little closer, and I'm trying my best to keep the branches all a little bit different. So every now and then I do one closer to the bottom. I'll just kind of switch the sides here and there just to make them all a little bit different. I think I'll just do one more right on the edge here. Then I'll go on to my next shade whenever everyone's ready. Maybe you've been doing this a little quicker than me. We'll see. Doing a little crisscross. Yeah, I think that's fine. Again, we don't really want to fill it up too much because we have so many other shades to go. Well, we have 2 others at least. But again, that'll fill it up a lot more than you think. I think you'll be surprised. So I'll just wait for a few thumbs before I go on. It's going to be, again, the exact same steps. The only difference is going to be the shade that we're using. We're just using a slightly darker purple. I would call this more of a traditional kind of medium purple shade is what we're doing next. And then we're going to have a very nice dark, deep purple to use for the foreground. There's a one. I just keep waiting for like 2 or 3, 2 or 3. I think there's a few, yeah. Bring this forward in the meantime if you want another quick look. Again, your purples might be slightly different tones or shades than mine. There we go. Great, there's another thumb. Perfect. So now what we're doing, everybody, is we're going a little bit closer to us. So our trees are going to get a little bit bigger. They're getting a little bit darker. And they are also starting a little further down into the grass because as things get closer to us, they're coming further down the painting, just like our pathway, right? So again, this one, this one, this one, these are all kind of in the medium zone. They're not super close, they're not super far. So I'm just taking that large flat brush once again, and I'm going to mix a little extra red and blue either on top of my existing light purple or in a separate area. It's whatever you like. If you want to save any colors, you can of course mix this in a separate area. But I'm just again playing with those 3 different colors, red, blue, white, just making what I would call more of a medium shade of purple. What I think of when I think of purple, it's a very bright, you know, bright reddish purple. In my opinion, it's more of the reddish toned one rather than the blue kind of darker one. I would just mix your favorite purple at this point, anything just in that medium tone, medium shade, excuse me. Again, art vocabulary, not my strong suit. Don't have that professional arts education, but I try to learn, as you saw me doing earlier with that phthalo business. So I'm going to go, again, anywhere kind of in the middle of my grass here, just starting, and then I'm bringing up the same way. So I'll start maybe here. And again, you can make these guys a little bit wider because they are closer to us. They're going to be just a little bit bigger, right? So you can add a little more pressure to your brush on your way up. Still want to make it thinner on the way, but maybe it doesn't come to, you know, a very perfect thin tip. Maybe it stays just a little wider all the way up, depending on if you're ending it off or if you're going to go all the way to the tip top. You still want to make a point, of course, if you are ending before the top. And more about the top area, guys, keep in mind, we have lots of leaves up there. So if you have a top of the tree that you're not a super fan of and you're like, it's not the best, or it looks like it kind of got chopped off a little bit, it's not coming to a nice tip, I would not worry about it because we're adding all of those nice leaves later. I feel like all my trees are kind of leaning. I don't know if you guys are seeing that. I feel like they're all like, just a slight amount, but that's okay. Maybe I have a slightly leaning forest today. Again, it's definitely because I'm painting from the side rather than straight on, but that's all right. And you can see it just kind of overlaps on top of your other trees, and because it's a slightly darker color, you can really tell that it's overlapping and it's in the foreground. So that's why we keep getting darker as we keep getting closer up. Okay, and I want to point out something real quick, just in case anyone's moving a little quick here. I avoid putting any trees right around here, because if they go up from here, they're going to go right in front of our white spot. And you can see I really like having that white spot open, even if just a small amount. I just don't like to put anything right in the middle. So what I did is I did leave this area open. You can see it's a little more gapped right there. And then for the bottom, I'll talk about that later. But for now, just that middle area right around here, just to the left of the pathway, I left it again, just blank for now. And you can slightly change where these start. Of course, you don't need to line them up. You can kind of scatter them a little bit just so they look a little more natural. In terms of the trunks as well, I'm not too worried about the very bottom. So if you're thinking about if you need to make a, horizontal line on the bottom of your trunk or kind of clean it up at all, I don't clean it up because I will be putting a few blades of grass at each trunk later. So for now, I just kind of make it look like again, just like it's been kind of cut off with a little bit of a horizontal edge. There might be a couple little brush strokes, but those all end up getting covered up. For now, they just kind of end, and we'll put some blades of grass there later. Okay, maybe I fit one more like right around. Oh, just closer. Let's go right there. So again, I wouldn't be afraid to overlap on top of your background trees, especially if you have one or two that you're like not a fan of. Again, it's a nice practice round. So if your practice round didn't go so hot, you can always use some nice medium trees to cover up any background if you need to. But otherwise, again, don't be afraid to overlap. It really makes it look a little more realistic, especially if you have things overlapping differently. Maybe one's completely starting to cover up another, or it's just slightly overlapping. Again, all of that helps. Okay, that's probably good for that side. I'll just move over to the other side now. Oh my gosh, Bernadine, cool! Wow, do you do that on Facebook Live too? I'd be so into that. Yeah, no worries, Bernadine. You can always, again, as usual, check on YouTube. I'll be posting this up as usual. Cake pop to toe. It's so cool. Oh my gosh, amazing. Do you do that a lot at home, Bernadine? Just on by yourself, and you're like, I could teach people now. That is so cool. Tell me more, tell me more. That must be so fun. I'll just point out here too, you're welcome to bring them right to the edge of your pathway here. You can see I lined a few. Otherwise, I just kind of keep going around this middle area here of the grass. We were just talking about baking earlier, Bernadine. You should have joined us for that. It's too bad you're a little late. Again, you'll hear that, I guess, if you watch this back. But we were having a nice little talk about baking. Ooh, I saw a thumb already. Whoa, somebody's quick. I'll try and speed up here. Maybe you're really getting the hang of it. I really like to take my time with my trees, honestly, and get them as straight and thin as possible, but I'm sure I could quicken up a little bit here. I'll do one or two more. See how the one looks, and then I can always add a second. Ooh, cool! Oh, such a good idea. Fondant cake pops. Yeah. I've messed around with fondant before. I tried making it once, and I did not enjoy making it myself, but when I bought it pre-made, it was a lot of fun. I was really into that whole cake boss scene for a while and just like the whole extravagant cake thing. I still am, kind of. I don't really watch those shows anymore, but I am still very inspired by that kind of stuff. It's such a different element of creativity, right? You're still really making cool designs, and I'm sure using some color theory in there here and there, depending on how fancy you're making them. And you can like paint on cake too. That's something I learned from watching those shows. Is there's a essentially like edible paint where you can use just a paintbrush and kind of brush on some color, paint whatever you want on the cake, You can literally do some art on a cake. I think we talked about that recently. I think on my first painting stream or second, I was all like, what if we, oh, it was my birthday stream, that's what it was. We were talking about making Bob Ross a cake and what we would put on it. And someone was like, you should paint on a cake or paint a cake. And I was like, totally. And I know I kind of missed the boat with my birthday, but I would still love to do that. I think that would be a lot of fun. Okay, no worries, Lisa. Take your time. So I'll give it a quick minute. I did see a thumb or two, but again, I'll give it a quick minute. It sounds like some are having issues with drying, so we'll just wait. Is it that first green or the second green, Lisa? If it's the first or the second green, I would think you could probably cake the paint on just a little bit extra on top of your green. And even if it's still a little bit wet, it should rest on top. It might mix a little bit, but you'll see it kind of rest on top because the purple's definitely the darker color. I made cakes for about 10 years. Oh, okay. You should make it your day job. Just do it for fun. It's cool to do for fun too. I'm sure it's a huge leap to change that up, but yeah. Oh, edible markers. That would be cool too. Literally just scribble on a cake, huh? Oh, I need to look back into all that stuff. I have a whole a bin or a nice big bag full of all that cool stuff, all little frosting tips and everything. I saw another thumb, so I'm just going to go ahead for the next step, and then I'll keep talking cakes with you, Bernadine, because I love cakes and decorating them. All right, so last step is I'm going to be adding my dark trees. I only had a couple. You can see I added two here, and then we don't want to forget about this little stump. So when I was creating this painting, I added all these trees first, and I actually had second opinions from my dad as well, and he said, there's a big blank spot right in here. What do you need to do there? He's like, you need to put something there. And again, I didn't want to put a tree because you can see if this were to go up, it would go right in the middle. So we kind of decided on a stump here. And I know he wanted me to do more with the stump. He's like, put a squirrel on there. And I was like, oh, that's a lot of stuff going on. So I didn't end up doing a little, forest friend. But if you wanted to, that's the perfect opportunity to put something resting on there. I think that would be so cute. So just a suggestion. But yeah, otherwise I'll do these trees first and then I'll get to the stump with you guys, okay? So again, I'm using the large flat brush. And this time I'm only using red and blue mixed together. I'm not going to mix any white, so I'm just going to move it over here so it's a clean area. And you can see it makes a very nice deep dark violet color, which is perfect for our foreground trees, nice and dark. And a very, very dark purple. Or a dark shade of whatever you want. I was talking to Mish earlier about using potentially different colors as long as you're using a darker color. You could even use black if you want, if you're running out of dark colors, or Mish was having an issue with her darker purples. Straight black would be fine, or just like a deep blue, for example. All of those would be great. So once again, I'm just starting now further down. So right down close to the bottom. Starting making mine a little thicker as well, a little wider. Bringing her up. Oh, it's going to overlap right on top. That's okay. Sometimes I just get sad when I do that. All that hard work. I'll try and lean him a little bit, and I'll try and get him to go in between. Oh, I got you, Lisa. Okay. So you could, yeah, if you'd rather just wait, totally fine. You could keep adding a little more paint just to see if you can cover up those gaps that it's leaving. But yeah, just take your time. You can see all of this is the exact same steps, so I'm sure whenever you're ready, you could probably catch up a little quick, or just take your time, watch that YouTube video later. That's fine too. Yeah, bunny would be cute, Bernadine. Yeah, my dad wanted the squirrel, but yeah, bunny. I was playing with the idea of like a toadstool there for a little bit. I didn't know if the red-white would be a little too bright on top of everything else, I guess. Wanted to keep more of the greens and purples going. But yeah, I have a whole bag of stuff that I should whip out. I was taking, at one point I was going to Michael's, my favorite place, for their little cake tutorials. They had a, like cake, I think it was like an 4 to 8 week thing. It was a lot of fun. It was on like a weeknight. You'd go for an hour or two and just learn about cake decorating and very basic tips. And that's where I had to make my fondant, and that's what I did not enjoy. I just couldn't get the proportions right, I think, and I did not have a big mixer. They actually said you definitely need some sort of like a KitchenAid mixer, one of those big ones, you know, ones that are very expensive. So I said, oh, okay, I'll just use my hand mixer, and it did not work out. So live and learn. So I'm happy just buying pre-made fondant and then coloring it myself and making whatever with it. So you can see again with this last layer how it's really getting lots of branches in there, very cluttered, very full. So I'm just going to do 2 more on the other side, then I'll get to the stump. Let's go down here. And again, I already saw a thumb, so I'm just going to go a little quicker with these two. Trying not to worry too much about how they're looking. My forest is already very full, so I really don't need to worry about where my branches are going and covering up gaps. That's something you can do, is kind of look for some bigger gaps and start to cover those up if you still need to add a tree or two. But otherwise, you can just add them wherever you like. Okay, so you can see how full my forest is looking. I'll give a quick minute. I already saw some thumbs, so I will give just another quick minute just in case, and then I'm going to do my stump here just to really concentrate on that with you guys. Oh, microwave. Interesting. Huh. Maybe I'll look that up. Yeah, and that's all I was using too, other than Michael's, I guess. That was the more, in-person thing. But otherwise, I was using YouTube, Cake Boss. I have a Cake Boss cookbook. Things like that. Just all shows and things like that. Lots you can learn on the internet. Yeah, clearly. Yeah. Oh, Andrea too. Ooh, chocolate drips. Ooh. Oh yeah, I've seen those satisfying videos online where they do, I don't know if it's the same thing, but they have all the different colors. They just pour it out over top of that nice fondant cake. Oh. Okay, so again, I did see a few thumbs, so I'll just go right ahead to the stump. Okay. So just so you can have a close-up of the stump, it really is quite literally a stump. Poor tree, it got cut down, I guess. But yeah, it's a little bit wider here. So all it is just like the start of a tree, so you can just do a nice little wide trunk on the bottom. By the way, I'm going to be using the detail brush, of course. I just kind of sprawl out into some little spikes or triangular shapes to make it look like there are some roots really digging down. Even though we didn't add those details here, I still wanted to add it to this little stump here, just so we have that nice detail. So again, kind of sprawling to the left, coming back in, coming down, in, little spikes, and then it comes up to the other side. And then for the middle, I took the medium purple that we were using earlier, and I just tried my best to do a few little thin rings around, as if, obviously in the inside of a tree, you've got lots of little rings. So I start on the outside, I do a couple more on the inside. They don't all have to be, sorry about the mic, they don't all have to be perfect. You can see some of them are a little split up. As long as you have some nice oval shapes in there for some rings, that's cool. If they're a little bit split up, that's okay. So again, my nice detail brush, medium purple, Oh, excuse me, I'm doing my dark purple first. I was getting ahead of myself. I want to do the stump itself first and then the rings. And again, I'm putting it anywhere in the open space here. You can put it wherever you want, just any open space you have, but mine is right here. So I'm starting with a nice, very flattened oval. So it's like a horizontal kind of flattened oval. I'm going to put this down so I can really look at it. So this is the kind of top inside of the trunk, of course, this nice flattened oval right on top. And then just bring it a little closer. I just bring down the sides a little bit, so come down on either edge, straightening those out. And then, like I said, what I do is I kind of curve a little to the left, kind of out on the left-hand side, making a point, coming back in. You can see that there. Yep, gonna come out again, making a point, coming back in. I just do that 3, 4, 5 times, however many fit. You might have some wider points or thinner points kind of coming out. And then on the right-hand side, you want to also do that little curve, kind of coming out to the right, coming to a point, coming back in. And you can just fill that all in. That's your basic trunk shape. Stump shape. Not trunk, it's a stump. It's a stump of a trunk, I guess, so it makes sense. I'm going to darken that shade up. It actually looks a little more like the medium purple. I'm just darkening mine up. I may have mixed some white by accident in mine there. Just want to make sure it's nice and dark because we use the medium purple for the rings, right? So I'm trying to darken mine up a little bit here. Again, that's great about acrylic paint. You can just pile it on top, even if it's still wet. If it's a slight change in color or tone, I'm sure it'll show up. You can see mine's getting just slightly darker. There we go. Oh, no worries, Joanne. Yeah, feel free to hang out. You can keep watching. If you want to do other elements, maybe you can. Otherwise, yeah, you can wait until the YouTube video. No worries. Oh, everyone knows about marshmallow fondant. I'm behind. Look at that. That's funny. Yeah, I'd love to try some sort of a drip cake. That'd be so cool. Okay, otherwise I'm just going into my medium purple now, and all I'm doing is I'm going to be doing the rings in that top oval area. So even though the oval is now combined with the rest of the trunk, you can still kind of carve it out again, of course. See that? Just with the medium purple. So I just kind of did a nice outline of the outside of the oval. And then I'm doing my best to do some nice thin little lines in the middle here, making it look like there are rings. So yeah, I know that dark purple is still a little bit wet and mine is mixing maybe a little bit, but even if your brush and your bristles kind of move that dark purple around, you'll see some nice texture and ridges. So even if you're not getting a nice clean line of medium purple here and there, you're still getting those ridges, and that helps bring out the texture and shape of that top of the stump and all of those rings in there. So again, you might see, getting that light there, you might have yeah, some more distinct lines, some that are a little more blended, but point is that they're all kind of wrapping around. Again, even if it's just leaving the texture behind, that's fine too. Okay, I'll just leave a quick minute or two. We're actually going to move to the pathway next just to get the base color down. And then we're going to go up to the leaves after that. That's right, Joanne. Yep. The light ones are in the very back. Then they go kind of medium. They're all starting kind of halfway down in the grass, and then the dark ones start much further down. That purple is still a little lighter. That's fine though. I'm just comparing it to those there. All good, all good. I'll just wait for a thumb or two, and then we can go right ahead here. Just as a heads up, we'll be switching brushes. I'll be using this medium-sized brush next. For a while, actually. I'll be using for quite a few steps. Got one thumb. I'll wait for just one more. I think there's only a few at a time today. Okay, prep my plate here in the meantime. All right, saw another thumb there. That's perfect. All right, so what we're doing now is we're putting the base color down of our pathway. So again, if you want to do a different kind of pathway, you can. I was really experimenting with what kind of pathway I wanted when I was making this, and at one point, maybe you can see, it was actually yellow. It was actually kind of like yellow brick road type thing. I just didn't like it. I just didn't like how bright it was compared to the purples and greens, but if you want to try that, go for it. But instead I ended up covering it up in this dark gray, and then I did more of a stone pattern. You could do just plain white, you could do just plain gray like I'm doing and then not add stones, but that's all for you to decide. Again, I'm just starting with a nice dark gray to begin with, and then we can put the stones on top after. So I'm going to switch to this medium-sized brush for that. I'm going to be using just a little bit of white into a large pile of black. So again, it's not pure black, we're just doing a nice dark kind of slate gray. It's going to be the bottom of our pathway underneath all the rocks. So all you need to do now is just kind of recarve out your pathway. You've already done the work of deciding where your path is going. I'm just being a little more careful on the horizon line here, kind of cutting across. Again, being a little more careful just on the edges here, and then otherwise in the middle, I'll fill that in a little quicker. So you're just covering right on top of the white or whatever color you use to mark out your pathway. And then, like I said, you're just filling it in after. So we're doing this now so that we can let it dry a little bit. We're going to go back and work on the leaves, and then we can come back to the pathway in a couple of minutes, more than a couple of minutes, maybe like 10, 15. Okay, so of course you do want a nice even coat of paint on here. You don't want it super, super thick because we do want it to dry. So as usual, just kind of brush it out with your brush. Do some nice long brush strokes to really smooth out everything. That will prevent any big lumps or bumps from forming and from, staying a little more wet. I want to make sure it all dries. Nice deep dark gray. There we go. That guy's a little less curvy, I guess. He's a little more straight here and there. It's okay. Maybe a little bigger. Yeah, no worries, Joanne. You're welcome. Okay, so I'll just give it a quick minute for that. Then we can go right up to the leaves. Fill up our tops. You can see the tops might look a little empty, especially if you ended quite a few trees just below the top like I did. These leaves will help really cover that up. It'll cover up any tips that you don't really like, and it'll just kind of, again, make it a little more full up top there. Make it so your eye is going everywhere around the painting. You'll see the top, bottom, lots going on. just gonna wait for a quick thumb or two. I feel like that was a pretty quick step, just in case. I'll go right ahead. And just as a heads up, we'll be using the same purples we were using. Opposite this time, though. Bring this forward a bit for you. There we go. So I'll talk about the leaves and we can do them. So again, we're using the same colors. We're just using a different order. We're going to actually do the dark ones first. The dark ones you can see I keep maybe a little bit lower because they're a little forward, a little closer to us. And then what I do is I stack on the medium ones. They kind of go on top and above, and then the light ones stick right up near the top as well. So again, more layering, just the same colors. We're going to keep using that medium-sized brush. And because we're going opposite colors first, we're starting with the very nice dark purple. So if you need to remix that, that was just plain red and blue mixed together. And what I do with my brush just to make these little leaf shapes is I just do quick little brush strokes. So I'm using, again, a nice medium round brush. I'll show you from the side so hopefully you can see. Just using the tip of the brush, doing a quick little stroke, and that's all it is. It just creates kind of like an oval shape. Depending on how hard or light you press, you're going to get slightly different sizes as you go. And you can see what I'm trying to do is stroke in different directions. So I stroke a little left, stroke a little right, down, all different. So I'm trying to just do that differently every time. I think you'll kind of get into a rhythm once you do it a few times. You can go a little bit quicker. But I think it's important to get lots of different shapes, lots of different sizes in there. You can see I'm again sticking them more in the kind of lower top area. I'll leave the top area for different shades. Once again, when I get to this light area, I kind of cut down on my leaves a little bit. I'll kind of keep them a little higher. I'll make them a little smaller just to make it look like it is kind of arching over. I really did like that look. So that's what I do there, just kind of using the tip of my brush, brushing lightly. And then when I get to the other side, back to usual, I'm doing some nice big ones, some nice small ones, all scattered. Right, left, down, all over the place. And you can see I'm reloading my brush with every few. That really helps with keeping these nice clean edges, clean brush strokes all the way through. And you can see I do leave quite a few gaps in here, but if you want to overlap a couple here and there, no problem, of course. I just keep it a little more gapped because I know that I'm adding more leaves later, so I don't want to clutter it up too much. Again, we spent lots of time doing our nice trees, so we don't want to cover up all of our very hard work, right? Just doing some here and there. That's about good. I think I'm going to stop there for my dark purple. I'll give a quick minute if you're still adding. Otherwise, I'm just going right along to my medium purple and then to my light purple. Oh, no worries, Jennifer. Yeah, so this will be on YouTube probably about an hour or two after we're done here. So I would guess by like 6 or something like that, 7 maybe. Terry, that was just a nice dark gray. So lots of black with a little bit of white in there. Okay, I saw a thumb or two, so I'm just going to go right ahead to that medium purple. So if you had the dark purple, of course, you might have a little extra. You can just add a little bit of white to it, get back to your medium purple. So shade of your in-between trees here. The not too far, not too close trees. Same thing, just using that same medium-sized brush. And this time, again, I'm raising them a little bit higher up. So I'm not going to go right down to where my dark purple was. You can, of course, overlap here and there. That's, again, why I left some gaps. We want to have some room for our medium purples. But I will bring them right up to the top. just so I have lots of layering so that the light purples also have an opportunity to layer as well later. Once again, when I hit the kind of light area here, I do add smaller little leaves kind of trickling down rather than having them big. And you can see that kind of shows a nice step there that you can add leaves, of course, anywhere. You don't really need to be touching a branch. That's why you can see me doing it so quick. I'm not looking at where my tree branches are. I'm not worried about connecting these leaves to the tree branches. They're all just kind of floating around. And of course, because we have so many trees, I think it's fair to say that they're all touching something, even if you can't really see them exactly touching a branch here and there. It doesn't really look off. It doesn't look like they're literally floating. It looks like I'm sure they're attached to something, you know? So once again, stacking a little on top of your dark purple, also raising them up. Just gonna put that down. Oops. Just filling up the rest here. Again, not worried if the top is looking a little bit gappy because we're going to do the last shade, the nice light purple shade on top, on the very top. Okay, so that's what mine's looking like there. You can see again the nice layering of those first two colors. And once we add the nice light purple, you get lots of layering on the very top. So once again, I'll just wait for a quick thumb or two, then we'll go right ahead here. And we can do one of two things after. We can either do the grass. Yeah, let's do the grass. I think my gray's still a little sticky. Yeah. I found the gray didn't need to be totally dry when I was putting the rocks on top, but I'm sure it'll help, so we can leave that be for now. There's a thumb, excellent. So I'm just lightening up my purple on my plate, using more white on top of my medium purple or your dark purple, whatever you have there. Just again, creating a nice lavender kind of lilac color. And last time, I'm just going to be piling these in the same way, just a different area. So I'm putting them on the very top, maybe trickling down a little bit, but mostly near the top. Yeah, sure. But yeah, that's kind of the step there. So yeah, Lisa, I'll help you out there. So the leaves, Lisa, they're all the same technique. You can watch the technique I'm doing here. I'm using the tip of the brush, just kind of doing small brush strokes. And I'm going down, I'm going to the left, to the right, angled, trying to switch it up each time. And the orders of the leaves are the opposite of the trees. So we started with light, we worked to dark. This time we start with dark, we work to light. So I did a nice dark purple kind of in this area here. So just kind of the lower top area. I did a medium purple just a little bit higher than that, so you can see how they overlap just about to here and then up to the top. And then I'm on the light purple right now, just doing a nice top layer. Again, it'll be overlapping more of your medium purple, maybe slightly your dark purple, but these mostly stick close to the top. And that way you get layering on each area, but it's not too cluttered. You're still seeing kind of sections a little bit. You're seeing some sections of the different shades of purple, but they do kind of combine all together a little bit here and there. And another reason I like to reload my brush with every few leaves is because if you start to really try and scrape off the paint, you might start to pick up some different layers of purple. So if you're using some fresh paint, you can see it just covers it up nice and clean. So that's another good reason to be really refreshing each time. Yeah, no worries, Lisa. Glad that helped. And yeah, again, the leaf technique is the same with each shade. I did not switch it up, thankfully. Didn't make it a different leaf every time. It's just the same technique. And Laura, you can play, or Lisa, excuse me, you can play with the pressure of your brush, make some smaller leaves with a lighter amount of pressure, larger leaves with a larger amount of pressure. Yeah, I think that's filled up enough for me. So I'm just going to keep that here. Give another, as usual, minute or two, wait for a few thumbs. And I think we'll do, yeah, the grass and there's some flowers next. And then we can do the pathway all together just to kind of finish off with the little rocks. Or again, maybe you have a different plan for your pathway. Again, I think it could be nice just plain as well, just more of like a kind of gravel look. It wouldn't really be a stomped down look. That would be more of just a dark green, but yeah, paved way, nice paved pathway. Any of those work. Oh, you're so right, Bernadine. That would be perfect, actually. That's kind of like a round brush right there. Yeah, that's so true. Bernadine was saying use your fingers. I have done it before. Sometimes when I just don't care to reach for a brush and I just want to do one thing, I'll just go tap tap or like do a little brush with my finger. Works fine. Okay, I actually saw quite a few thumbs there, so I'm thinking you're all good to go. I'll bring this closer as usual and we can have a little look. And you know what? I'm realizing that some of my flowers are actually on top of the rocks. So what I'll do is I'll teach you the flowers just because I do want our pathway to dry a little bit longer. And then what we can do is if you want some of these flowers right around here that do overlap, you can always do those as the last step. I'll teach you the step of the grass and the flowers, and then we can all go back after we do these rocks just to add them right on top. Okay, so we're going to do the grass first, and then I'll do the little flowers. So the grass is just green. Green, grass is green, yep, fact. And what we do is we just use, you can use either the medium-sized brush or the small detail brush. I did grab the detail, but I might switch around as I go. I'm just making a slightly darker green. And what I like to do is I like to do larger blades of grass right by the trunks. As I was saying before, I like to kind of put them at the base to cover up the trunks a little bit here and there. And then I do some smaller ones just scattered everywhere. You can choose whether you want to do that or not. I don't know if I like, honestly, I don't know if I really like the small ones here and there. I may have just left it blank or maybe added more. But yeah, you can do whatever you like. I'll try my best to replicate what I did here, again, with just a darker green. So I'll start with this detail brush. Maybe I'll switch up to the medium brush if I feel like it. It just holds more paint, so I find it a little quicker and easier to use a medium brush rather than the tiny one. But all I'm doing here is mixing blue and yellow together. And it should be darker because we added a little bit of white to this base color. So as long as we don't add white to our green, it will appear darker. So grass is pretty much probably how you assume it's made. You're just really doing straight lines coming up like this. You're just kind of flicking your brush up or dragging it up to make some nice blades like that. So I'm just showing you some at the trunk first, doing some longer ones. You can again pile them right on top of the purple, kind of, you know, in front if you want to cover up anything. They show up a little bit. You'll be able to see it, I'm sure, in person. Just a few at a time, nothing crazy. And in addition to that, I do a couple really teeny ones just to kind of fill up some space. So I just do some small little flicks, just kind of covering any green space that I want to start to give some texture to. Small little ones. I am going to switch to the medium-sized brush. I prefer that one. If you'd rather be nice and detailed with the small one, that's fine, but I like being able to hold more paint and go a little quicker. I find the nice quicker strokes creates thinner lines as well, so rather than using the brush and literally going, you know, straight up, I like to just kind of flick it. I much prefer that. So that's the same thing, just using the tip of the brush. You can either use the tip or kind of flatten it if you need to, just using your plate to flatten the bristles out. Those will create nice thin little lines. Another thing you can be doing is kind of changing your pressure a little bit, so you can start with a little pressure, just like your trunks and your trees. Start with a little pressure, quickly release as you come up. You're kind of flicking off by releasing pressure as you come up. And I keep, of course, the ones in the background a little bit smaller, right? They're not going to be quite as tall as the foreground blades of grass. But you can see you can still make teeny tiny ones even with a medium-sized brush, just using the tip and just lightly. You can either stamp it, you can kind of like press on like that if your bristles are all lined up, or you can do the flicking. I kind of do a little bit of both. See that there? They're all coming through. My green needs to be a bit darker, so I'm just going to mix a little more blue in there. That's usually how I darken my green, is I just add a tiny bit of blue. You could add a little bit of black as well. Both of those will work. So again, I'm doing those trunks just to kind of cover them up, just to give them a little extra flair as well. And again, I'll point out that I'm not doing any here quite yet. I'm going to leave those for a little bit later because they do go on top of the rocks. So we wouldn't want to put them on now. They'll just get covered up, right? Just doing some more small ones, just filling up those little empty areas. Give it a little more texture. Awesome. Okay, so that's the good grass, good looking grass. There we go. And changing my mind by the minute, I think what I'll do is now we'll go to the pathway and then we can do the flowers as the last bit. Because my pathway is very dry at this point. And again, even if it's a little bit wet, it should be totally fine. We're just stacking on grays on top, so if it mixes a little here and there, it's not going to be a big deal. Let's close up for you. Yeah, and I think doing the pathway next would be good as well, just to give our green even a little bit of extra time to dry. Even though we use just a tiny amount of paint, it should be dry pretty quick. But because we'll be using our small brush to kind of swirl the flowers on, that's what I do. I kind of rub and swirl my brush. I wouldn't want it to be hitting the green and turning it green, right? So we'll just give it a little extra time there. Great, I saw one quick little thumb. Wait for one more, and then we can do some rocks. The rocks are cool. They're like puzzle pieces. That's how I thought of them as I was doing them. I'll talk a little more about them, but yeah. There's another thumb. Awesome. All right, so just to bring this forward, we can have a quick little gander at the rocks. So you can see what I did is I kind of stuck to maybe 3, maybe 4 shades of gray, not too many, not 50, but 3 or 4. So I started with the light ones, and I just got a little bit darker, a little bit darker, a little bit darker. My rock shapes are all kind of 3 to 4 sides each. They're kind of like squares. You can kind of see some diamond type things, triangles, rounded rectangle type things, just anything that fits. I started with the bigger ones, and then what I did is I added the smaller ones as I went to kind of fill up some gaps. So you can really play with whatever shapes you want when you make the big ones, and then the small ones just really are tiny little stones that fill up the gaps. I found that to be a big step in this, is to make sure that you had big rocks as well as small ones. When I first started putting on only big ones, it looked very, very polka dotty. And I was like, am I making a polka dot pathway? What's going on? But once I added the small ones to really help, number 1, fill in gaps, but number 2, just give variety, that's what I thought made it look a little more like a realistic stone path. So just know that if you feel like it's looking polka dotty, that's how I felt. It was fixed later. So that's good. Okay, so I'm going to start with the lightest shade. You could start with any shade of gray. It really doesn't matter. But I'm going to start with lots of white and just a little bit of black. And I did like to use this medium-sized brush. Even though it seems a little bit big, I did prefer it. Again, I found it really helped with clean edges on the rocks, keeping the paint nice and smooth. I found the small brush just a little bit more troublesome, a little more time-consuming to work with if you'd prefer to use the small brush to sketch kind of rock shapes out and then fill them in. Totally fine. And of course, I would, you know, switch down to the small brush maybe for smaller rocks if you choose to do that. So you can see I'm just using the width of the brush there, kind of doing some rounded shapes. They all kind of come to some points here and there. Maybe there are some, again, edges or points, but everything's very round. So even if I do what I call more of a diamond shape, you can see very rounded on the sides. I'm just kind of moving my brush, kind of curving it around, filling it in. So again, I like to think of these as having some edges. So they kind of curve and go straight, but there are nice rounded corners, rounded tips here and there. And of course you can make some completely round if you want to just make a smaller, or I guess, sorry, a rounder rock. You can just do a quick little circle if you want. More of a stone, I guess, pebble look. And then as I go up my pathway, we want to make these in general a little bit smaller. You still have kind of big rocks and small rocks, but you won't have any huge rocks, right? You'll have more medium to small ones. So as you get further up, again, you're making sure they get a little smaller each time, as long as the bulk of them are smaller. Again, you might have an outlier or two, but the bulk of them want to be a little bit smaller. So for the smaller ones, you can just use the tip of your brush, kind of like we were doing with the leaves, right? You're just kind of doing a quick little drag with your tip, maybe doing a quick little curve here and there. That's all you need. And for now, again, I'm spacing them out. And this is where I looked at it and I was like, it's a polka dot path. What am I doing? But you'll see once we add some smaller ones in there, it'll really start to clean it all up, make it a little more natural looking. So you can go at your own pace here, but all I'm doing is I'm now darkening up my gray just a little bit, adding a little more black. I'm using that same brush. I'm just doing the exact same thing. There's nothing different here, just different placement, of course. I'm not overlapping the same rocks, but you can start to really bring some kind of close together a little bit. I find that's helpful, just to really do a few kind of right on the edges, just to start to fill in gaps. Even though we have the small rocks later, I still like to try my best to kind of keep these nice and close together and fill in some gaps as I go. You can see I try and avoid putting the same color close to one another, or I guess right beside one another. If it happens, it's not a big deal. It definitely happened a few times over there, especially with my small rocks, but just to begin with, I just don't try not to pile a bunch of the same color all beside each other, just to give some more variety. I find the polka dottedness also went away the more I filled in gaps too. So it wasn't just the different sizes, it was more so creating the nice, filled in areas, tight edges, things like that. So you can see I'm trying to mix it up, doing some rounded shapes, some more straight shapes, anything and everything. One more. All right, starting to fill up here. Just darkening up a little more. I'm going to do that again. So you can just keep darkening a little bit at a time. The only thing you want to be aware of is you don't want to get so dark that it matches your base color. That's why we started with a very, very dark gray in hopes that we had enough shades to kind of fill up with our rocks in the meantime. So if you ever make a shade that is the same shade, just again, throw a little extra white back in there. You can bring it back to a lighter gray. So again, you can see I'm trying my best to get them close as possible, trying not to touch them because I think it's nice to have the background color surrounding every single rock. Really making it nice and tight. Getting it right and tight to the edges too. Edges of the pathway, I should say. You can see how slowly the gaps are really starting to fill up. Not a whole lot of space left. I might need to do one more shade just to fill up a few extra spaces there. Or you can always go back to another shade. Again, I try not to put too many of the same shade together, but if it happens, it happens. If it's 2 or 3 close together, I'm sure that would be fine. I still haven't added any of my really small rocks. Again, I'm getting smaller as I go up, but I still haven't filled in my gaps quite yet, just so you know. I think I'll do one more shade here. I think I'm going to go just a touch lighter now. Just because I think if I go darker, I'll be the same shade as the background. So I'll try and get something in between. Again, you see I'm going to put 2 right there, kind of close to one another. That's okay. No one's going to freak out about it. No one's going to be like, oh my gosh, 2 beside each other. Oh no. As long as they're mostly scattered, it's cool. You can even do some curved guys like that. Again, you can really start to mold them a little bit to the gaps. You don't want to make it totally an outrageous rock shape, but you can definitely make some more interesting ones rather than sticking to the very round or very edgy shapes. Really starting to fill up. This is good. This will definitely be my last shade, and then I'm just going to go in for some small little rocks. All right, so that's how mine's looking. Again, you can still see some big gaps, but I'm not going to worry about filling those with big rocks for now. I'm just going to give a quick minute or 2, and then I'll go in with the tiny brush and do some little small rocks. Again, I find that really helps break up the polka dottedness, makes it a little more like a rock pathway. You'll see. You'll see. Just going to wait for a quick thumb or 2, and then I'll go ahead. Give another little close up. There we go. There we go. Okay. So again, I'm just going to go in now with my teeny tiny detail brush. Any shade of gray is fine. You can start from the start if you want, do a nice light shade, or just use whatever's on your plate. And you're just doing really tiny ones now. So you're just kind of filling in any medium to large gaps. You don't need to fill in every single gap, of course. You don't want to force it in there. But if you're seeing anything that's kind of sticking out, this is now your chance to really start to fill that in. Now that you have your nice detailed brush out, you can be a little more careful and get a little smaller. But same thing, I'm still doing kind of the rounded shapes, keeping some a little more edgy, but soft and curved. See, that's again kind of breaking it up a little more, breaking up the polka dottedness, I mean, but also filling it in even more, making it nice and detailed. Okay, I'm going to go into my very light gray. Let's mix that together. Mm-hmm. And I would say it's probably impossible to avoid every single color from bordering each one. So especially with these small ones, I wouldn't worry as much if you're putting a very light gray small stone next to a bigger light gray stone. Again, that's no big deal. You can see I'm doing that quite a lot there. It's okay to break the rules here and there. Okay, I think I'll go back to my darker gray just to fill in a few more gaps. You don't need to do every shade too. Again, it's going to depend on your pathway. If you have lots to fill in, you might want to do all of your shades of gray to fill that in, or you might just want to stick to one or two, whatever you need to fill in those gaps. Oh, that's too dark. Okay, I think that's fine there. So I'll just give you a close-up. So you can see there's definitely some spots where I could have added like another teeny tiny stone here and there, maybe like here, for example. But in the end, I just don't want to clutter it too much. I don't want to make stones that look too tiny, right? Just enough that it looks, again, nice and scattered. Like there's a nice dark gray border around all of them. That's really the main goal. Again, not really patterned. I wouldn't want to say patterned, but something like that, you know? So once again, I'll just leave that there. I saw a quick thumb already, so that's great. But what we'll be doing next is moving on to our little flowers. The flowers add just a little more lightness to the painting. That's why I added them. I was really wanting to add some yellow, as I was talking about before. I actually had my pathway as completely yellow before. It was just a little too much, so instead what I did is I did some white and yellow, kind of like daisy looking flowers. Very loose term, daisy, for my flowers anyway. I'm not doing individual petals or anything. It's really just that they have a white outside and a yellow center, so that's why I said daisy. But okay, got a thumb or two there. Great. Okay, so I'll show you a close-up of these flowers. And like I said, what I'm doing is I'm going to do my flowers on my existing grass first, and then what I'll do is I'll do kind of a second round just at the pathway so we can let our gray dry a little bit, and then we'll go on top. It's all the same steps though. So here's a nice close-up. Let me bring it right up here. There we go. So you can see it's like a soft swirl of yellow, or of white, excuse me, all the way around. So then I did that to each little blade of grass that I wanted to. And then I went back with some yellow and just dotted a little dab of yellow in the middle for a nice little yellow center. You can see in terms of placement, I didn't really put them up here. I didn't want them just sticking totally out in the back, so I kind of stuck them further down, more in the bottom middle area, just where they're maybe a little more prominent. If you really like the look and you want to bring it up further, I would just recommend doing them a little smaller as they get further up, but I just chose to put them over here. All right, so I'll be using a small detail brush for all of that. So making sure it's nice and clean, because we'll be going into white paint, of course, right? So really rub it on your towel or paper towel just to make sure any and all dirty water is out of there, in case you're not changing your paint water the whole time, just like me. And again, I'm going to use my detail brush. I have white paint. First thing I'm doing is I'm wiping a little bit off so I don't have a big blob on there. I just want a little bit on there, kind of like a coating of white. And I'll choose any blade of grass I want. I especially, you can see, like to put them on the larger blades of grass by the tree trunks, but I'll maybe scatter some by the pathway soon enough. Anyway, all I'm doing is I'm just lightly rubbing round and round on the top of a blade and trying to have the white kind of scrape off, because there's not a lot left on the bristles, so it kind of softly scrapes off. I'm swirling round and round. So that first one, oh, those are ovals. That first one you can see is a little cleaner. That's because I had the most paint on my brush at that point. But as I moved around to the other ones, I had less and less paint on there. So they became nice and soft. That was more the look I was going for. So you can see how the white kind of rubs off, becomes very transparent on the outsides. It looks like it's kind of glowing. Again, just a soft look. Just grabbing a little more white, wiping it off. Gonna keep going on my other blades here. Let's move it right there. Want to make sure that you're not overlapping any foreground trees as you're doing this. So if you have any daisies back here, you don't want to be overlapping that guy, for example. So I'm just moving him to the left a little bit, not scraping on top there. Let's go right here. And these circles might be a little messy here and there. They're not going to be perfect every time. That's the other reason I liked this technique. I'm not making perfect petals and worried about perfect round shapes. It's more just little soft whimsical looks. Are we going with Whimsical Forest for the title, by the way? I think that was my suggestion. I like hearing from you guys in terms of the title, so let me know if you're thinking of anything else for a nice title today for this. Maybe now that you've painted it, maybe you're a little more inspired with some words or titles. Whoops, dipped into the black there by accident. Okay, I'm just going to move over to this side, do a few more. So again, I'm only concentrating on the white right now. I will add the yellow centers after. And you don't need to do every single blade. You can see I'm choosing maybe 3 to 4 each time, or even just 1 if it can fit. You can kind of have a look at how the whole painting is looking. If you feel like you want to brighten up a spot, you can add a few more flowers in the one spot, because you can see it really helps pull your eye down. You can really see how bright they look compared to everything else. So it helps kind of move your eye around. So right now I'm missing a lot over here, so let's bring a couple over. Oh, we need this guy. Oops. Just having a look at my painting. Yeah, I think that's good. Again, I avoided putting any way up there. I just didn't want it to look too bright and too big with the flowers up there, so I just kind of left them be. Okay, we've just got the middles to do, and then like I said, I'll repeat these steps for the pathway, but you can really do those at any time at this point. I'll just kind of finish these ones off first with the yellow. Oh, I'm getting real messy here. Real messy. Right at the end, good stuff. Okay. Waiting for a quick thumb or two, then we can go right along to the last step. Give you another quick close-up here. Again, very soft, swirly looks. Saw a thumb float away there, awesome. But yeah, again, you can see some of them are a little harsher, a little softer. I like the variety personally. All right, so the final step is literally just washing off your detail brush. You're grabbing a little bit of yellow, and I'm just gonna tap it in the middle. So I'm just tapping my brush right in the middle. It gives each of my flowers a nice yellow center. See those guys there? So again, just grabbing a little blob of yellow, tapping in the middle. And sometimes I like to mix my yellow with a little bit of white, but I found that because I was putting it on top of that white flower, the yellow still stayed pretty bright. If you find your yellow dries a little more transparent after maybe these dry, you can always go in and add yellow mixed with a little bit of white. That'll help make it really pop off rather than drying transparent on top. I just go in, I just dab on top of each one, so just tapping or dabbing, leaving behind a nice little circle or a nice little blob of yellow. That was my way of adding just a little yellow to this painting. Yellow and purple are complementary colors, which mean they complement each other, like they kind of pop off of each other when you pair them together. So that's what I was thinking of when I added those. Wanted that nice yellow to complement. Okay. So that's technically the last step. Again, I'm just going to go ahead and add my stems, my green stems to my pathway, and then kind of repeat those steps just for a few extra flowers. I'll keep an eye on the comments in case anybody has any quick questions or anything. But again, if you need to watch any of those flower steps over again, that's what I'm doing now. I'm just grabbing green on my brush, doing a couple longer blades kind of right along the edge of the pathway, because again, what they do is they go up into the pathway. That's why we let that sit for a little bit, just so we can have the pathway dry, the nice rocks nice and dry. I'm just gonna add a couple. I think I added a few extra on my painting back there, but I'm sure you all know these steps by now, so I'm just gonna go a little quicker with these ones here. So I had the green stems, I'm grabbing white, just swirling on top of my green, above and on top. Just being careful because you just applied that green, so maybe avoid brushing right on top. Same thing though, just kind of scraping it on. And because our pathway is dry, it's safer to do this now. You can see it's not going to mix in with the gray as it goes. And then just finishing her off with some yellow in those middles. There we go. And again, that way you're getting another layer, you're getting a little more depth because we have the overlap of the flowers on top of your pathway. Awesome. Okay, so whenever you're done, you can sign your painting. That's my final step. A little quick signature in that bottom corner. There we go. And that's that one. I guess it's Mystical Forest. I didn't, yeah, I don't think we have any other title choices, so it's, or Whimsical Forest, excuse me. So yeah, unless anyone else wants to pop in real quick with any more suggestions, Whimsical Forest it is. You're welcome, Mish. Oh, don't worry, there's more. Just need to make some paintings. Honestly, I'll be painting up the storm tomorrow, so you'll see more for sure. And just more things in general. I keep saying that, but we'll see. Again, that YouTube channel is something kind of new. We'll see what else I come up with. Lots coming. Okay, so as usual, guys, I'll encourage you to go back to the event page to post your beautiful photos of your paintings. If anyone is here hanging out wondering where this video will be, again, it's going to be on YouTube in about an hour or two. I'm hoping even quicker, honestly. But yeah, you'll see it very, very soon. And yeah, as I was just saying to Mish, just keep your eyes on this page for more. I know I don't technically have an event scheduled quite yet, but in the next week, you'll see even more coming. Like I'll be posting them probably tomorrow or the next day for the upcoming week. Not sure what days quite yet, but just know they are coming. And in the meantime, you can just, again, keep your eye on the page for more exciting things. And I'm just going to spend a quick minute opening up this event page. I'll link it in the comments just so you can find it very quick. Yeah, woohoo! Yeah, don't worry, it's not over. Again, you may have noticed that by the end of the weekend, like Saturday, Sunday, I don't have any events posted and I just pop more on. It's because I'm painting more paintings and trying to get some more designs created. So it's a little bit of a process for me. There we go. Okay, event page is open. There it is in the comments in case anyone needs to see it. But I'm sure you all know, you probably, most of you probably RSVP'd just so you could be notified, but there it is. And as usual, my tip links are in the description. Thanks for those who are hoping to support me today, and otherwise it's okay if you're not. I'm just happy that everybody's painting and having fun. So thanks again for coming. You're welcome, Lisa, Angela, I'm glad. Oh, especially when everyone's just happy how it turned out. They're learning something new. I think it's really important right now. So thanks for saying that. And again, post those photos to the event page there. Okay. You're welcome, Lori, too. Were you painting, Lori? I thought you... Oh, maybe that was someone else. Oh, no, you were. Okay. Yeah, Whimsical Forest. That's you. Okay. All right, everybody. I'm going to sign off. Have a great rest of your Saturdays. And again, keep your eye on the page. I'll be posting more coming soon. Okay. Bye. Have a great afternoon.